Part of the effort of the AA&O Solutions team is to encourage people to be mindful of their energy consumption and curb waste.
By managing their consumption, what they do is, when most people are using normal electricity from NEPA, what they do is they leave all the light bulbs on, leave off the fans, the TV. Some people have like 3 television sets in their house. They put all the 3 on. At the end of the day, they are actually denying other people the opportunity to have light. So we have a lot of leakages and a lot of wastages. So at the end of the day, by the time you start using inverter, you will know that you are running on your battery, and you have to ensure that you don't waste the energy that's already in your battery. So you have to save it.
Oil and gas production account for around 35% of Nigeria's gross domestic product and about 90% of total export revenue. That's according to the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Over the past year, the country has invested more than $20 billion in solar power projects, seeking to boost the capacity of the national grid and reduce reliance on it by building mini-grids in rural areas without mains electricity. Just 1 in 4 people in rural Nigeria is connected to the national grid, adding to a trend of outward migration that is piling pressure on Nigeria's already overburdened cities. In January, the country suffered 6 power outages in just 8 days, as the national grid repeatedly collapsed under the strain, plunging most of the country into darkness. Urban and rapid population growth experts say will only add to the problem. Nigeria's population is projected to swell from 198 million to 411 million by 2050, while more and more people are moving to its cities. By the start of 2020, demand for energy is forecast to be more than double its early 2018 levels. Nigeria currently has the capacity to produce an estimated 7,000 megawatts of power. But due to weak infrastructure, gas supply problems, and water shortages, only about 4,000 megawatts reaches the national grid, says the Minister of Power. The government is investing in hydropower, with several projects close to completion. The largest is the Mambila Power Station in central Nigeria, a $5.79 billion project due to be completed in 2024, with most of the financing coming from Chinese lenders. It will be able to generate 3,050 megawatts of renewable energy in the rural region and is scheduled to be completed in 2024. Given the country's climate, though, most of the focus is on generating solar power. According to the Rural Electrification Agency, a $350 million World Bank loan will be used to build 10,000 solar-powered mini-grids by 2023 in rural areas, bringing power to hospitals, schools and households. Although the AA&O Solutions Off-Grid project is not part of the government's plan, it is one of those helping to bring down companies' energy costs by at least 30% since they started using the solar grids. Jude Omotayo's firm is one of many that have benefited from the solar grid solutions. He has been with AA&O for 2 years, and he says he does not have any regrets so far, but has an advice for those who want to connect to solar power.
I think if you are going to consider renewable energy, the best thing to consider, the first thing to be considered is your load. Then you determine what you needed to power that. For example, if you are going to make use of generator, you won't bring a 1.5 kVA to carry 2 AC of 1.5 horsepower, making 3 horsepower. You won't, because it won't be enough to carry that. It won't have capacity to supply the required energy. The best thing to be considered is what kVA of generator do I need. The same thing with renewable energy. You must determine your load to ascertain what your need is. In the long run, you consider there are 2 things to be considered here. You consider the short run, then the long run. In the short run, it might look expensive, but in the long run, it's cheaper. And the comfort, you can't compare it to anything. It gives you clean energy. Of course, no fluctuation. And apart from that, you have power 24 hours. You can't compare it to any other thing. Well, PHCN is cheaper, relatively cheaper. But of course, you know what the situation is in Nigeria. You might not have power supply in a whole day. My area, we have supply in 2 days, then 1 day off. you do without power for the whole day. So there is always need for you to make up for such time. You can't just compare it. Of course, it looks more expensive than PHCN, but when you look at the supply and the results you get when PHCN is not up, of course, there is no other option to it.
Since this team started, they have witnessed some level of success, but they are worried about the level of quackery in the industry. So they are appealing to installers to do a professional job that will encourage more people to embrace the use of renewable energy.
During installation, a whole lot of people out there, maybe because they don't know the in-depth of how to install solar panels and inverter. Most of them, the amount of voltage that comes from the solar panel is usually lower to what is going to come into their inverter. We've had a situation where an installer installed solar panel using 96 volts from the solar panel. The connection on the solar panel is 96 volts, but by the time you get to the inverter that it's going to use, it's going to be like 48 volts, which does not, sync together. So we had to go up there, correct the installation of the solar panel, change it to like 48 volts, and the installation on the battery will still be 48 volts. Sometimes they use charge controllers that are lower in capacity to what they're supposed to use. So at the end of the day, when the customer starts making use of the inverter, the first 3 months of the installation will see them draining the battery. By that period, they will believe that the system is working, but indirectly the system is not charging. So we'll need to correct that and ensure that the solar panel is actually adequate to charge the battery and give them, the satisfaction that they actually need.
Nigerians spend more than $5 billion annually on fuel for noisy, dirty diesel or petrol generators, or for even more polluting charcoal. And still, most people live in the dark.